Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased, true crime channel. First on the docket, documents released regarding the Lori Vallow matter incident in Arizona. Well, let's just say it's leaving me scratching my head. I'll explain why. Second, violent crime is rising. Guess where? An extradition date for a famous inmate, James Whitey Bulger. Documents released regarding his involvement as an informant. An innocent man is now free after he pled guilty. A law student needs an attorney, and a gynecologist charged. Guess why? And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and hit that little bell over there in the corner so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. Now, today is Tuesday. So what does that mean? That's right. It's Tuesday Night Live, and we'll be going live both here on YouTube as well on Facebook. And I'm not going to lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to get our numbers up a little bit on Facebook. So here's what we're going to do. For every person that likes and shares our video that we put up today on Facebook, out of every 100 people, we'll select one and they'll get $100. We'll do this up to $500. But remember, you have to follow and like our Facebook page and share today's video to qualify, because we can see all that data. It's kind of scary, actually, how much we can see, but it's true. So do that, because we kind of like to get the numbers up there on Facebook, because, you know, we love YouTube, but man, they demonetize us for saying words that you would think would be normal when you have a true crime channel. It's just really getting rather frustrating when they say if you talk about things that we talk about in the true crime genre as being too sensitive for adults. And that's only people that we basically say this is appropriate for. But everybody wants to feel safe in their little cocoons, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get straight to the docket. As we mentioned yesterday, documents regarding the evidence, what is supporting the indictment for the charges against Lori Vallow in regards to the charges of conspiracy to commit murder in regards to the death of husband number 4, Charles Vallow, have been released. And they're making their way, and we have been reviewing what we have to date. And it is leaving me scratching my head. And we can talk about this more when we go live tonight. But the interview that's given by Alex Cox just doesn't make sense, okay? Alex Cox states to the police officer that he got hit in the back of the head with a bat. He didn't see the bat coming. He had a gun, and apparently Charles Vallow had a bat. And we're not even talking about the forensics. I'm just telling you, based upon the answers that were given by Alex Cox that day when he was interviewed, I am very, very surprised that Alex Cox was not arrested either that day or within 24 hours, okay? For there to be self-defense, you have to be in imminent fear of serious bodily injury or death, okay? But you have to fight fair, so to speak. So if you bring a gun to a knife fight, it's not balanced. Yes, you could be in fear, but it has to be a reasonable fear. If the person never came with you and they had a knife, it's not enough to just harm that other individual. There has to be a reasonable fear. So in this particular case, based upon the statements that I've seen, and I will give you this caveat, I have not seen it all, and I am not criticizing the police department down there. They probably figured, hey, we got time. This guy's not going anywhere. We know where to find him. Well, little did they know he was moving on. But the reality of it is I'm surprised The case wasn't presented to the district attorney, and charges not filed. Why? The story just didn't make sense, but that would have bought a little more time for the district attorney to file charges. Yes, a district attorney has to have or has an ethical obligation not to file charges unless they believe they can prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm telling you, I think I would go to trial as a DA charging Alex Cox with murder, maybe something in the second degree, perhaps, maybe even a heat of passion. First degree murder, yeah, based upon what we probably know now, but I'm surprised it didn't happen. And guess what? If Alex Cox had been charged, and I'm not throwing stones at anybody here, I'm just saying, if he had been charged based upon the facts that they knew shortly after the death of Charles Vallow, probably the death of Tylee, JJ, or Tammy Daybell. You never know with the bunch that they had going on there, but you really have to wonder. All right, next on the docket, violent crime is rising. Murder rates have skyrocketed, and in some cases, we are talking breaking records. In major U.S. cities, as the nation grapples with a huge surge in violent crime in 2020. Now, the cities often associated with murder and other violence, such as Chicago, New York, were joined by less likely suspects. Louisville, Milwaukee are reporting higher than usual rates in 2020. In Louisville, Kentucky, police recorded more murders this year than ever before by the agencies. At least 177 people have been killed year to date in Louisville as of December 27th. That is up 99% from the 89 murders during the same time in 2019. An estimated 92% of the year's murder victims in Louisville suffered fatal gunshot wounds. Now, in Milwaukee, reported one of the biggest upticks in murders so far this year compared to last, almost doubling the number of homicides reported by December 30th. 192 people have been killed in the Wisconsin city as of last Wednesday, up 96% compared to the 98 murders reported for the same time last year. As of last week, at least 5 of the victims were 9 years old or younger, while 19 people between ages of 10 and 17 were shot. An estimated 88% of the murder victims were reportedly gunned down. In Seattle, there have been 47 murders to date, 19 more than all of 2019, and the highest homicide statistics for all the years available by the police department. The second highest number of murders was back in 2018 with 32. Now, we can't forget Chicago, often dubbed the murder capital of the country. They have the highest number of murders out of all major cities so far this year. Guess what the number is? That's right, 762 people have been killed, a 55% jump from the 491 reported back in 2019. Chicago's murder high, despite surpassing other cities by hundreds, falls short of its record of 771 people killed in 2016. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. That many homicides in Chicago. What is going on there? A lot of police blame it on gang violence. You can blame it on COVID, but the reality of it is people are harming other people and the numbers are going through the roof. We probably can't forget Philadelphia. They've had 3,884 shootings and 2,222 wounded victims in Philadelphia as of December 27th, which was the last date that they had statistics. Los Angeles has reported 2,750 shots fired incidents and 1,226 shooting victims as of December 12th, whereas in 2018, shootings and 968 victims were reported during the same period in 2019. New York City, that's right, the number of people shot so far this year has skyrocketed by 103%. That is a 97% spike so far in 2020. And let's not forget Portland. Who can forget Portland, right? What really goes on in Portland other than Antifa and maybe a little Portlandia? That's right. 850 shootings reported year to date as of December 24th, up 116% from the 393 incidents recorded year over year. And 93% more people, 228, were shot this year compared to last year's 118. Now, if I say why I think it is happening, everybody gets upset with me. They're probably thinking, well, gee, Scott, maybe if you didn't tell people not to take their phones with them if they were going to commit crime, that this wouldn't happen. Let's be perfectly clear. What I said was people get caught and arrested because of the information on their phones. And I'm not telling anybody to harm anyone. I'm not telling anyone to break the law. In fact, I'm encouraging people not to break the law. It's a heck of a lot easier, a lot cheaper. You don't have to hire an attorney, go to jail, go on probation. And guess what? You shouldn't take other people's things. You shouldn't harm other people. So let's be clear as of yesterday. And all this is taking place. These numbers are 2020. So you can't blame Scott for saying, oh, if you're going to commit a crime, don't take your cell phone. Okay, that's how people get caught, ladies and gentlemen. No one's counseling anybody on how to commit crime. Next on the docket, it's a big day today for a famous inmate. That's right, that famous inmate named Harvey. That's right. He has touched down in L.A. Even before the judge was going to rule on it, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said, go get him. And hey, he didn't go there on a road trip. Oh no, that's not good enough for Harvey. He was basically on a government-owned medical aircraft. It looks like a Gulfstream that he was flying in. I hope he was comfortable. I mean, that could be a tedious 5-hour ride from New York to LA in a private jet. And he landed at the FBO there at the Burbank Airport, also known as Millionaire. That's right. It's called Millionaire. It's a FBO. As I was flying in there with a friend once, that's right. You have to be a millionaire to afford gas at Millionaire FBO. And it's kind of fitting that that's where old Harvey got off and is back to L.A. And, you know, his wife's not going to meet him anymore because that divorce officially went through just the other day. Now he's being brought back to L.A. to face 11 counts of sexual assault involving 5 different women. And obviously this comes on the tail of Mr. Harvey being convicted and sentenced to prison in New York. Now, Harvey didn't want to go to L.A. His attorneys have even tried to work out an arrangement so that he could stay in New York and not go back to L.A. Didn't quite work well for him. But hey, Harvey, at least you got the weather now. It's a little nicer weather there in L.A. I'm not sure you're going to get out to see any of it, given your medical conditions. You can't see. You need special glasses. Yeah, you're just falling apart. But hang in there. Hang in there, Harvey. You know, old Bill Cosby came out on top. You just got to hang in there. Now, for those of you who have no sense of humor, that was a joke. That was sarcasm. That was me being facetious. All right? So don't have to write in the comments, oh my God, Scott, you're rooting for Harvey to do great. No, I'm not. Okay? Just to be clear. I bet Harvey didn't have a cell phone either on that trip. All right. Next on the docket, James Whitey Bulger. Remember that guy? Yeah. He used to be an FBI informant, mob boss, hitman. Well, the FBI has released some 300 pages regarding their involvement with Mr. Bulger and what he was involved with back in the early 70s back in Boston. And you can go to the FBI's Vault online library and you can look at these documents. A lot of them are not great. It's interesting how things have changed, clearly typed up with maybe a Selectric typewriter, and all the initials of people that have reviewed the updates regarding their involvement with the informant. Now, although a lot of the documents are redacted, you can still get details regarding the FBI's investigation into loan sharking, horse fixing, and drug rackets around Boston in the 1970s as the New England organized crime strike force targeted gangs and the mafia. You can also see how the FBI instructed an informant to leave debts unpaid to Bulger's mostly Irish mob, and Bulger's slap around that informant, who FBI investigators said was in constant fear for his life and agreed to wear a recording device and testify in court. You'll also see how they literally engage in these incriminating conversations on the wiretap so that they can corroborate the evidence, what the informant would testify to. They actually say this corroborates what the witness will testify to. Why is that important? Prosecutors are always looking for corroboration, because if you don't have corroboration, you probably have reasonable doubt. Now, a lot of people may not be aware. A lot of people may not be aware of what happened to Mr. Bulger, but he was about ready to get indicted. And one of the FBI agents, who was later indicted himself, let Bulger know that he was going to be indicted, and he fled. And he fled to L.A., where he was living off some $800,000 in cash that he had stashed in the walls of his apartment. He was living with a longtime girlfriend. He was ultimately convicted back in 2013 when the police caught up with him for the slew of crimes, including 11 murders. Now, what happened to Mr. Bulger was that when he was sent to a federal prison in West Virginia, literally within 12 hours of arriving as of October 30th of 2018, he was fatally beaten and his eyes gouged out. That's right, less than 12 hours after arriving at the U.S. Penitentiary Hazleton. 3 inmates allegedly involved. They've been held in 23-hour-a-day solitary confinement since, but they have never been charged. And why would they do that with his eyes? It's kind of a mob thing for snitches, because Bulger was a snitch. And we've said it before, snitches end up in ditches. Now, we're not encouraging that, anyone harming anyone that cooperates with the police. That is a street term that people charged would oftentimes refer to. Just giving you that little knowledge, not encouraging informants to be beat up, just for everyone's sake, they don't get offended. But it also shows, man, you just never know with whom you are dealing, does it? Old Whitey Bulger, notorious mob boss, leader, hitman, living out in California for years and years, and nobody finds anything out about him. Makes you wonder, what do you not know about people that you think you know? Let's take a quick recess and find out. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. All right, next on the docket, an innocent man has been set free. What is a little unusual about this particular case is that the man that was free, a gentleman by the name of Dennis Perry, actually spent 20 years in prison. Not unusual for people who have been wrongfully convicted. But in this particular case, Mr. Perry pled guilty. That's right. Mr. Perry was charged back in 2000 for the death of a deacon, Harold Swain, and his wife, Thelma Swain, in the vestibule of the Rising Daughter Baptist Church back in Georgia in 1985. Authorities arrested Perry in 2000 and secured a guilty plea in 2003 in exchange for not pursuing the death penalty. Now, we've talked about that. The death penalty can be a tool to get people to admit their guilt, assuming they are in fact guilty. And as part of that plea deal, Mr. Perry also agreed to waive his right to an appeal, and therefore he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. Now, I'm certainly not going to judge Mr. Perry. He's got to make his own decisions, and I've had clients that have taken similar situations, maybe not as severe as this, but why would you plead guilty to 2 multiple life sentences if you didn't do it? Well, exonerating DNA evidence came to light last year. Perry's attorneys moved for a new trial. The motion was granted in June of 2020 over the objection of the district attorney. Shocking, because who wants to be the district attorney of saying we sent an innocent man to prison? No, they're going to fight that all the way through the very end. But a new elected DA came to office recently, reviewed the case, and concluded that the charges against Perry should be dropped. Now that is justice, ladies and gentlemen. According to the DA, there's evidence Dennis Perry did not commit the crime that are alleged. The DNA profile derived from mitochondrial DNA analysis of hairs that were recovered from a pair of eyeglasses at the crime scene does not match the DNA profile of Dennis Perry. I guess it's just a little interesting as to why Mr. Perry pled guilty. A life in prison, why wouldn't you fight? It makes no sense to me. We're not talking about a speeding ticket and you plead guilty to a defective headlamp, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about 2 counts of murder. That's what he pled guilty to. Well, I'm glad the district attorney thought that the evidence suggested that he was innocent, and hopefully Mr. Perry gets his life back after 20 years. I'm sure he never thought he would be free from prison. A law student needs an attorney, and maybe he's been watching Crime Talk for some of the best legal advice he could ever get if he was accused of a crime. What is that? That's right. Lawyer.
You, get up. Yeah, you.
All right, lawyer.
Sir, we have a warrant for your arrest. You can get a lawyer when you're in your holding cell.
Lawyer.
William Stern, you are under arrest for insider trading and securities fraud.
Justin Medoff, 31. Police responded to the Home 2 Suites in Las Vegas, and they reportedly found Justin Medoff giving first aid to Stephanie Duarte. She's 30. Medoff claimed he had gotten into an argument with Duarte the night before and woke up to find her beaten, bloody, and unconscious. That's not good. Duarte reportedly suffered from fatal head trauma, while Medoff had undisclosed injuries to his body. Medoff and Duarte had been dating for a short period of time. Medoff was a law student, and they planned a quick weekend getaway in vacation. Now, guests in the adjacent room reported hearing noises consistent with an altercation and even furniture being moved around in Medoff and Duarte's room. Medoff told the officers that their hotel room was covered in blood and that he tried to bathe Duarte to wake up. Duarte's body was already in rigor mortis by the time the police arrived, suggesting that she had been dead for several hours. Well, that can definitely vary based upon the victims and lots of factors. Now, Medoff, who faces an homicide charge, allegedly refused to answer police questions and requested an attorney. Now, I'm not sure why they would put that in there, because the man was exercising his constitutional rights. And I don't care who was charged, I would stand up for them and say he has an absolute right to keep his mouth shut. It's always better to look guilty than to actually be convicted of being guilty. That ought to set a few people off, won't it? All right, next on the docket, an ex-gynecologist accused of crimes. Guess what? Well, federal prosecutors are adding new counts against a now former gynecologist accused of sexually abusing patients days after saying that investigators found, that's right, images on a laptop, let's just say of persons under the age of 12. Yeah, that's right. Robert Haddon, a former Columbia University doctor, is now facing those 7 counts in connection with the alleged abuse of 6 adult patients and 1 minor. Prosecutors alleged in the indictment that Haddon assaulted dozens of female patients, including the multiple minors, between 1993 and 2012. He's actually not facing charges during that time period because of the statute of limitations. Prosecutors claim Hayden, for the purpose of engaging in illegal sexual activity, enticed and induced individuals to travel interstate by causing the victims to return to appointments with him to be further sexually abused. Each count carries up to 20 years in prison. The new counts were filed as of July 14th, and they allege that another former patient was abused during the time period of 2008 and 2009. Now, in the course of their investigation, they seized the laptop of the now former doctor, and like I said, they found images of those children. We call them children. That's right. Individuals under the age of 12, which is the legal term for them. That's right. Not going to be good for the good doctor for sure. He's definitely going to prison. We'll give him the presumption of innocence, as we do everybody, unless they've been convicted by a jury or pled guilty. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to that kind of stuff, what does a sexual abuser look like? You just can't say. They come in all shapes and sizes. Next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Please meet Mr. Perez, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. He's 53. He was pulled over for some poor driving back in Iowa City. It turns out the motorcycle he was driving upon was stolen. Unable to actually provide the information of the individual that let him borrow the motorcycle, he was arrested. Now, when he was being questioned by the Iowa City Police Department, he claimed that a fellow meth user had actually loaned him the vehicle. As I stated, he couldn't figure that out. But Mr. Perez, being the keen and savvy man that he is, what did he do when he still had his phone? I'm not sure why he still had his phone. Well, he Googled something. He Googled, how long does methamphetamine stay in your system? That's right. Well, the other officer, in plain view, it's a term of art, in plain view, observed the search by Mr. Perez, whereupon they, being the police, obtained a search warrant for Mr. Perez's blood, and he was arrested with theft for the motorcycle and driving under the influence, and of course, driving with a suspended license. I'm not sure anyone has a license that's not suspended if you are driving a stolen vehicle. It's just the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little experience, 26 years of experience coming through to you right there. You don't even have to pay for that. All right. Hopefully we didn't offend anybody today. Seems like we've been doing that a lot lately. Not sure why. But as I told my daughter the other day, maybe you want to call me and ask me if I'm in a grumpy mood or a good mood. But it doesn't really matter because I will tell you the truth either way. So thanks for watching. Please join us tonight. We'll be out of our grumpy mood, and we'll see if we can offend anybody this evening. Have a wonderful time. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.